Hello and welcome back everyone to Pushblock Gaming. Once again, I am Jay, and once again we are talking about some more Multiversus today with our first tier list. Mikey, stand up if you love tier lists. That's what we're talking about. So, before we even start this video, before we think about it, make sure you go and watch this video. This video explains a lot of the reasons why I'm making this tier list. It explains some of the changes that are going down into the open beta that'll help you understand why I chose the characters I chose here and those kind of things. So make sure you've watched this before you even think about watching this video. Alright? Cool. So with that, we are making our first Multiversus tier list. This is for the upcoming open beta in July. If I've said that once, I've said it a billion times at this point, it feels like, even though it's only been 3 videos. But we are making our first tier list. This is going to be for both 1v1s and 2v2s, singles and doubles. I'm going to be talking about character strength overall, although I will lean into the 2v2 a little more, as that is the preferred game mode by the devs. So we will be looking at that. We'll be looking at all the characters, how it goes down. But of course, this is speculative. The open beta isn't out yet. You know, there's some balance changes that could happen that I don't know about. Or I could just be wrong about how I feel these changes are going to affect the character. So while I have done my research and while I feel confident in my opinions, don't take it as fact. It's an opinion. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Argue about it. But be nice. Alright? Let's jump into it. Alright, so with the tier list, we're going to start from the bottom of the list and work our way up. And at the very bottom right now, I am going to have to put Taz. Say Taz was a character that was really obnoxious, like I've said a couple times. Tornado was a really strong move. He could kill really early, but the rest of his kit was kind of lacking. They've tried to shift the balance in that in a couple ways, and I just don't really have a lot of confidence in how it's going to work out, partially because we didn't get a lot of details about that. So Taz, in my mind, is one of the weaker characters in the game at a high level of play. I think at a lower level, he can do a lot and rack up some random KOs, but as players get better, I think Taz is going to fall off. And for that reason, I'm going to put him in that bottom slot for now. Things could definitely change. They're trying to work on him, and they might be able to fix him. I'm not sure, though. After that, I have a character that I feel kind of mixed about putting here. It's one of my favorite characters in the game. It is Superman. And Superman, I think, is really good still. His movement with his passive air dashes and things like that from the ground. He has the command grabs that can cheese really early kills. You know, armor on a lot of moves, a lot of kill power. He has a lot of really good things going for him, but I feel like his moves just have a decent bit of wind-up in general. And he hits hard, but he hits kind of slow, it feels like. And you have to be pretty tricky with your movement and get in there. And he really doesn't provide a ton of team utility outside of kill power. And so for that reason, I'm going to keep him in this C tier. You know, he's very good, especially I think probably better in singles than doubles potentially. I don't know if I really want to say that, but just because he doesn't offer as much to a teammate as a lot of other characters above him will, I'm going to keep him in this C tier. After that, I'm going to go to another character that got nerfed into our B tier, and that is going to be Reindog. I think Reindog was one of the better characters in the game during the open or during the closed alpha, but now I think with a couple nerfs, it's gonna be kind of iffy. He had a lot of utility with really high damage output, and now if they're nerfing that damage output and nerfing some global perks that can affect his projectiles and things like that, that's gonna make him a little bit weaker. I think I would have placed him probably in the A tier before, but if there's just global nerfs and individual nerfs affecting him, I just feel like he's probably gonna drop a little bit. They're trying to keep him in a similar spot, but it might not quite work out here at the beginning of this open beta. Also in B tier, I'm going to put the other support we have in the game right now with Steven. I think Steven's a really good character. Steven's a really fun character. Steven has a lot of potential being able to create platforms, get wall bounce combos, all kinds of things, and he has really good support for his teammate as well. I just think that compared to some of the characters above him, his offensive output isn't quite there. His support output is kind of there, but I just think in general, he might be a little unexplored currently. Things could go higher for him. I could see him pushing up the tier list, but for now, B tier I think is where he is going to end up living. There'll be one more character I'm going to throw into this B tier, and that is actually going to be Wonder Woman. The first character I played in the closed alpha, one of my favorite characters in the game, but she just doesn't stand out in any real way to me. She has a lot of really good tools. She has decent combos, good damage output, a decent bit of kill power, some really helpful team utility, but she doesn't quite do anything amazingly. She doesn't have quite as much team utility as these guys, as Steven and Reindog. She doesn't have as much kill power as a lot of the characters above her. She doesn't have as good of a combo game as a lot of characters above her. Now, that's not to say she's bad. She very much so, like, she fits into any team comp really well. and she can probably handle most matchups, even in 1v1s, extremely well. But that doesn't mean that she has these polarizing matchups where she invalidates other characters or counters them as much as I think some of the other characters above her will. And so she's going to kind of sit in this middle pack of the game with these other characters. So after that, this is going to put us into our A tier. So the majority of the characters in this game, I think, are really good. I think the majority of them belong as top tiers and as some of the better characters in the game. And so, of course, I'll go ahead and first and put in my favorite bruiser in the game, the one I raved about in my balance patch video. I think Batman's going to jump all the way up to A tier. I think before he would have been C, maybe B if you're really optimistic. He was a lot of times better in the 1v1 than he was in 2v2, but his smoke changes will be able to help his allies fight against projectiles, gives him some niche as a counter pick to projectile heavy comps. Weaken buffs help him get more kills, help his teammates get more kills, so I think he's really unexplored in terms of combo game. He's got a lot more movement abilities with grapple. I think he's got a ton of buffs, and I think it might not show right away, but I think by the time it's said and done, Batman will be up here in the A tier. Also joining him in the A tier, I'm going to go ahead and put Tom and Jerry, kind of a native projectile specialist, and I think Tom and Jerry is kind of tough. I don't think they're completely optimized in the average gameplay you're going to see online right now. There's a lot of unique tricks they can do with his projectiles and things like that to sneak up on people, to sort of bomb from far away and be able to sort of pin people down between Jerry and himself. But I also think he has really good juggles. Up air is an amazing move. He's got pretty good range in a lot of his moves. I think his edge guarding is pretty solid, and he's got a lot of things to throw your way. So with all of that, I think Tom and Jerry belong in this A tier for now. They also managed to not get touched, meaning the devs were happy with where they were. I think a lot of these characters before in the B tier were in the A tier and got nerfed down, like Ryan Dog. But I think him sitting there without any nerfs or buffs is you're either going to be an A tier or B tier with those. 3 of our characters that didn't get touched are in these 2 tiers. And so I think he still is going to belong there. Next up, I'm going to have Harley Quinn in the A tier as well. She got a slight nerf. They only talked about nerfing one of her moves. She was really strong last patch, super good frame data, super quick, good combos, has set up things, not a bunch of utility for her teammates, but she is kind of that, I'm going to have really good movement, I'm going to be really quick, I'm going to carry for my team. In the 1v1, that shines even more, and so she definitely belongs up here in this A tier. She might get nerfed even more, I could see, but it depends on how things shake out. A lot of these assassins are really strong and can really play well for themselves, and we'll have to see how that ends up developing further in the meta, if they become solely 1v1 based characters or if they're still really good in the 2v2s. And the other character I think is like that as well is Arya Stark. Arya has ridiculous combo game. She is in general, I think, really strong, good recovery, good edge guarding with knife and things like that. She has a bit of a disjoint with her sword. I think she has a lot going for her, but she kind of falls in that category of like, yeah, she's good, but is she good enough to help carry your teammate as well, or is she just a 1v1 character? So we kind of have to wait and see a little bit how that develops, but I think she kind of falls in line with that same mold as Harley Quinn there in the A tier. Next up is our other mage, Bugs Bunny. I think in the closed alpha he would have been up in the S tier for me. His normals are really good, his specials are amazing, he has so much gimmicky stuff, whether that is safe and Milsa being able to go through the ground through his down special and pop up at a different location and surprise people, be able to cover so much of the screen with these delayed projectiles, the randomness of getting items just from crouching down and picking one up. He has so many good things alongside great normals like his up and down air, and his chargeable forward air and things like that. He has really good juggles, really good kill power, off stage game, great recovery. There's not many weaknesses here, but I do think they're trying to nerf him and take him down a notch, so I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in this A tier still. Also in A tier is going to be Jake the dog. Good character all around. I think he is one of the more beginner-friendly characters. He doesn't rely on cooldowns very much. He doesn't rely on very unique or very difficult combos. It's a lot of stray hits, a lot of bigger hitboxes that are really strong. You can kind of count on him to clean everything up for you, I think, in a team comp. He provides a lot of kill power, and in the same way that Superman does, but he covers more space, and so it makes him a little better at closing out stocks, I believe. And despite the nerfs, he's still going to remain that presence, I think. They didn't nerf him too heavily. He's still going to have really good kill power. A lot of things you liked about Jake before are still going to be there. So he's going to remain in that A tier for me. Our boy Shaggy is also going to get pushed up to the A tier. I think before he would have likely been a B tier. But with his changes, starting with his sandwich, adding some armor on his moves, things like that, he's going to have a little bit more ways to gimmick you out and take stocks without having to be as honest with it. Shaggy, he's always good. Nothing wrong with him. You know, he's the Mario of this game, essentially. He's kind of that baseline. But I think in a sign of health, he's been able to push up to this A tier and have a little bit more uniqueness to him, like the devs were wanting. And I think it's going to work out for him well this patch and push him up here with the rest of these really good characters. Finn, I'm going to go ahead and say is A tier. He could be B tier. It's really hard to say. The devs took Finn and they might have gutted him. We don't really know. They nerfed movement speed. They nerfed a lot of his moves. They bug fixed some of his perks. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces here with Finn, and it's hard to say whether or not he's really going to drop down 1 tier or 2. I think previously he was up in the S tier, but now he's definitely dropping at least a tier into a much healthier spot. But I don't know if it's going to be as significant enough to take him down to B, or if he'll just be hanging out here towards the top of A. I'm not really quite sure yet, but I think this is the safer spot to put him. You know, nerfs to his movement speed, nerfs to some of his end lag on his moves, nerfs to his perks, things like that. So he's got a lot of things that are being tweaked right now, but I don't think he's going to be completely gutted. So I think he's going to sit right here in this A tier with really good combo ability, still good movement, and still pretty good ways to take stocks as well with his disjoint. So I think Finn going to solidly stay in the A tier after the nerfs. Now we get into our S tier. And this is where we got 2 characters in here, and you can see who they are. We have Velma, who I think, especially in the 2v2, can be really oppressive. She has such good supporting abilities. Being able to stack perks like Frost and be able to support your teammate there and slow the enemy and potentially even freeze them if you're coupled with another projectile character. You know, she can support her teammates. She can cover for them from really far away. She has essentially a meter that can potentially just steal a stock away really quickly. Pretty good recovery. Decent kill power as well. I think she's really safe, but also really strong, and that's what keeps her up here for me. Not as good in the 1v1. Like, I think if this is just a 1v1 tier list, she'd be in A tier for me. But in general, she's strong enough that I think she deserves to be up in this S tier. And we'll see. You know, things could change. The balance of everything could shift around a little bit. The meta is definitely not set in stone, and I'm able to play the game in a little bit. But that is just my kind of raw thought here, is that I think Velma is very good. The other character in S tier is going to be Garnet still. I said in the balance patch video that the devs thought she was potentially the best character in the game in the closed alpha, and they hit her with a couple light nerfs that I think will matter, but I don't think they're going to be enough to take her out of the S tier here. She's up in the S tier. She has really good kill power, really good mobility, support for her teammates. She kind of has it all except for a really high damage combo game, but being a bruiser, her hits are kind of meaty, do a lot of damage on their own, so she does just fine in that category. I think she kind of is one of the better all-around characters in the game, and is honestly what Wonder Woman kind of wishes she was a lot of the time. And I think the nerfs aren't going to change that, and she's going to remain up there in the S tier. Obviously, we have no idea about Iron Giant here. I hope he ends up in the B tier. You know, I think with what we've heard about him being a character that is just twice the size of even like Garnet or the bigger characters in the game, and can't even really jump, allegedly. You know, I think him being down here would be boring. I think him being up here would probably be really annoying. So I think hoping to find him somewhere around Superman, Wonder Woman strength would be ideal for the game. But obviously, we have no idea right now. But that's where I'm hoping I get to put him. But so all in all, that is where I am leaving everything for my pre-release open beta tier list. So if you're still here, you made it to the end of the video, and I really appreciate you. If you could hit us with a like, I'd really appreciate it. Mikey would appreciate it back here. But thank you for sticking around. Thank you for supporting Pushblock. We love Multiversus, and we're hoping to get more content out for you as the open beta actually hits. So make sure you stick around, hit the subscribe button, follow me on Twitter. Link is in the bio. Yeah, peace out, guys.